But there is a kind of a great thing where Jamie's like, "Oh, who's this? Who's this doctor?" And he's like, "Oh, this is a friend from school." And it's like when you're with your new partner who doesn't know that your ex is in front of you. it's like, "Who's this?" And you're like, "This is an old friend of mine."
People of the universe, please attend carefully. The message which follows is of vital importance to you all.
Please try to keep up.
We present to you a case study of one of the most dangerous minds in the universe. A history of the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known as the Master.
The Master. Call me Master.
The choice is simple. Join us and continue listening, or face total annihilation.
Listen.
They are the Master, and you will obey them.
You will obey me.
Please attend carefully. Hello and welcome to Please Attend Carefully, the Doctor Who podcast about the most magisterial of malefactors. I'm Ciarán Moffatt.
I'm Amber Patrick.
And each episode, we bring you a chapter from the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord, known universally as the Master. Today, we will be looking at The Dark Path by David A. McIntee, a 1997 Virgin Missing Adventures novel. Amber, tell us, what is it about?
It's a bit hard to summarize the entire novel, but this is the book that has the name of the Master that you've probably heard a lot if you're online in fandom spaces.
Yeah.
It's the novel. But I assume probably a lot of people haven't read it. In fact, we put up a poll to ask how many people did know the source of the Master's infamous name.
Yes, and the results were, how do you know the name Koschei? 3.8% said old internet forums. 7.6% said I've read The Dark Path. Good, well, you're in for a treat tonight. 4.8%, I don't know. 8.1% really what's other, and they really wanted us to have an I don't option.
Yeah,
I do not use this name.
I think the other is I don't.
Yes.
That's what we'll probably count it as.
30.5% from fanfic.
Yeah.
It just got all of this, it's just recursive. It's just fanfic.
That's what I assumed would be. I thought that would be number one.
And coming in at the top spot is 45.2% other members of the fandom. So what I'm gleaning from this is over 70% of people who call the Master Koschei or believe that Koschei is in some way the Master's real name are only saying that because someone else has told them that.
Yeah. Which in a fandom space, especially with a book like this that is a bit obscure, I can understand. Like, to be real, I wanted to get a copy of this book to read it physically. I was not going to pay the over $200 it was going to cost me in a bidding war with someone on eBay to get it.
Yeah.
It's hot property, this book. So I guess I could assume that. But I really do want to say that I think people should read this book. Like, this is an outstanding Doctor Who story.
So one of the reasons we're tackling this now is because the author of this story, David A. McIntee, very sadly passed away just a few days before we're recording this.
We were thinking of doing this Koschei arc as, tying it in with the War Chief and things like that. And we just hadn't quite gotten there because, again, I was finding it hard to get the book and read the book. But then when we did find out that he had passed, I just knuckled down and read this thing in 2 days and said, we are going to do this book for David.
So David A. McIntee was hugely respected. As we'll get into, it's clear that quite a lot of people who are making Doctor Who that we respect today have read this and have taken it as gospel. I just wanted to, there's a little bit on in the inside leaf of this book.
The physical book that we definitely have in front of us.
The physical book that we definitely have in front of us says, David A. McIntee has written 3 new adventures and 2 previous missing adventures. Unlikely as it seems, he is in touch with reality. He says it's a nice place to visit, but he wouldn't like to live there. Which I think is wonderful and sweet. He was also a big writer of Star Trek as well. Honestly, just being on Blue Sky over the last few days, and as as things have sort of poured out, or this outpouring of respect and love, and everyone loves his books. So whenever we do a book, it comes up, and I get very, very awkward because I'm a very slow reader. I just sort of plod along unless something really absolutely grips me. I'm just dead in the dust. So Emma does most of the reading, and then I suppose it's a good sort of tryout for the podcast because she has to then explain it to me in a way that would make sense to someone like you listening who may not have read it. But I feel like I probably should have read this one.
Well, you still can.
I still can, yeah.
I'm going to leave out a lot of the story
Mhm.
that's not related to the Master from this, which is quite a lot of it. So there will definitely be parts of this story that are unknown to anyone who just listens to this episode. So you could still go read this book and get, the full sort of experience of it.
I suppose what I want to ask, first off the bat, is this is obviously, a story in and of itself, but it's often seen as master lore more than anything else, right? This
Yeah.
is the only person who has ever tackled master origin story outside of like RTD when he did the untempered schism and stuff. This is the
Yeah.
only master backstory we got, apart from maybe the Planet of Fire, where the master says, "How could you do this to me? Your own," and then he gets burnt up in a fire. So what I want to ask is, how much of this story is good story, and how much of it is master lore?
It's really good story because I think for me the main thing is that 2/3 of the book are narrative, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, and he's doing things, and he's got a companion with him, and it got to halfway through this book, and I went, I have no idea what's in store for me. I don't know, which was refreshing because we did a story recently where it's like I know what this is going to be.
Yep.
Quite quickly, but this one I was like, I genuinely do not know where we are going, and then oh my god, it hits you with a gut punch moment that just totally like defines, I think, the character.
Yeah.
That makes you go, oh shit, like oh my god, like I've cried twice in the history of Doctor Who. No, 3 times. I've cried 3 times in the history of Doctor Who, I think.
Three times. 4.
Wow,
Our
make fun
weapons
of
are.
make fun of my emotions.
Sorry.
I've cried 3 times in Doctor Who history, and this one, unfortunately, I just wasn't in the right sort of environment. Like I was at my office, like at my desk,
Mhm.
sort of at a computer. If I'd been reading this on the couch and it had been nighttime and maybe the mood had been right, I probably would have cried at this book.
Okay. Wow, that's a big recommendation. Just quickly, what were the 3 times?
One is the end of the Only the Good box set.
Yep. Totally fine. You don't need to say any more about that.
Yep. Then there's 12's Regeneration.
That is very like Doctor, I Let You Go. That.
Yeah, and like the World War II field with, all the soldiers and
Yes. Yeah. The famous Christmas armistice.
yeah, that, and then 10's Regeneration.
I don't want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, but also the scene with Sim Master leading up to that, where they both sort of,
Yeah.
the Master sacrifices himself to defeat Rassilon to save the Doctor, and then the Doctor has the big "I don't want to go" moment. That whole scene.
Yeah.
So it's those, and then this one, I would say I wanted to cry at this. I just wasn't in the right mood, but I was emotional reading it.
I am such a blubber when it comes to like honestly, I will still watch Doctor Who. Like I was watching Husbands of River Song the other day, and the bit where she's like, he's not mad enough to be standing next to me, and I'm just like
Yeah.
or the wedding of River Song, where it's just like these are all messages from the universe about how much they love the Doctor. I'm like, yes, they are. So, set the scene.
There is a time and space there's a time anomaly. Anomaly? I hate that word. And
There's a timey-wimey thing.
yes. And the Doctor, along with Victoria and Jamie, are in the TARDIS. and they suddenly get pulled into this anomaly, and they end up on a planet. And then sort of in tandem, there's a lot of dual action, obviously, because it's a novel. There's a lot of things going on all at once. The Master also is pulled into it in his TARDIS, but he ends up on a Federation spaceship in space. So we quickly find out that there's a Federation spaceship and a Empire planet.
Okay. So a lot of fandoms being mixed up there. So from what I've read in the wiki, I know that there's a lot of references to other Doctor Who stories. Like he's very, very fond of connecting dots to really support his story.
There's a lot of draconian stuff in this book.
Oh, wonderful.
A lot. We're not going to talk about it at all because it's all essentially, for our purposes, B-plot.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. No, that's fine.
Yeah. Basically what's happened is this Federation ship, which is... The Federation have toppled the Empire. There's no longer a giant intergalactic empire controlling everything. The Federation now are made up of all these different races and planets. And they find this colony that is not part of the Federation.
Okay. And so in a very empirical way, they go, you're going to be part of us.
So the Veltrochni, they discover this planet. They message the planet. They send them a communication. They're like, hi, it's us, the Federation. Don't worry, we found you.
Prepare to be federated.
You don't need to hide anymore. The Empire's destroyed, kind of thing. Well, this planet just shoots them out of the sky.
Right,
because they're still, they are still Empire. They don't know
the last vestiges of the Empire.
Yeah, so they kill them. Now the message that there's a colony planet does get back to the Federation. So now a Federation ship is heading for this planet. Koschei and his companion land their TARDIS on that ship that's heading to the planet, and the Doctor and his companions land on the colony and are subsequently attacked by something mysterious called the Demon.
Dun dun dun.
Well, no, it doesn't attack them. That's the weird thing. It attacks the Adjudicators, who are the Empire's army.
Right, okay.
And kills them, but it doesn't kill the Doctor and his companions. And they don't know why. And that's a mystery of the book, what this demon is.
Right, okay.
That's a clunky start, but I promise.
No, that's fine.
That's the annoying sort of bookkeeping of where we are.
So, Master on ship, Doctor on planet.
Yes.
Master have companion.
He does. He has a companion called Ayla, and they park the TARDIS and make it look like a locker.
Nice.
In a locker room, and they come out and they then pretend to be diplomatic envoys. And everyone, of course, does the whole, we don't know you. We've been on this ship for years. Like, who are you? We've never seen your faces before. And the Master, he hypnotizes a lot of people all the time in this book, but it's kind of a bit more passive. Like, he does do the look in my eyes, but it's a lot more just... There's a description later where people just say it just feels right to let him be in command.
So my first thoughts hearing that are that if David A. McIntee had been writing this after New Who, the Master would be using psychic paper, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like real passive, just sort of psychic paper.
He kind of, what he does is he learns the name of one crewmate, like who's high ranking, and then when he speaks to any other crewmate, he just name drops that person.
Oh yeah, Jerry sent me.
Yes, that's exactly what he does.
You know Jerry, he's friends with Ben.
Diplomatic attaches, that's the word that he uses. He's also got like a bag of like military plaques.
Military plaques? What, to like put on his...
Yeah, and he just digs through a little bag and he picks out a couple and gives one to Ayla and to himself and just...
I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So Ayla, it's established, is she's a human and she is like good with computers.
Okay.
Which I think we sort of learned, like he is good, but he can rely on her. And she's from like the 27th century or something like that. It says, but yeah, basically with her, he just is like, she's someone I can depend on and trust.
Right.
If I say to her, get this done, she can get it done. And that's why he's got her with him.
Okay.
But also it's to point out, he's not evil here. he got dragged into this situation, and he's just trying to understand what caused that anomaly and what it was that overpowered his TARDIS.
Yeah, you know me. I argue the word evil. I argue the word evil as if things have like no reason why they are awful. Like, anyway, so is he doing this on behalf of the Time Lords?
No. He's just traveling.
So he's doing a doctor.
Yeah, he is. He's completely just doing a doctor. He's just out there doing his own thing, and this pulls his TARDIS into this area.
Right. Okay.
And I guess then he does decide, because he is a Time Lord, something's fucking with time around here. I need to figure out what it is.
If anything's going to fuck with time around here, it's going to be me.
Yeah. There's an amazing part. You'll love this. So there's Captain Sherman. She's the head of this Federation cruiser. And she's asking, like, I don't know who you are. And Koschei says, we spend a lot of time in our quarters reading important documents. Yes. She looks between him and Ayla and's like, oh, and she assumes it's a euphemism. So she's like, oh, okay, yes, sure, okay. And she just leaves them. And the master's like, oh, I don't know why she believed me, but I don't think for the reason why I thought she would. And Ayla has to be like, she thinks we're sleeping together. And he's like, he chuckles amusingly, I could scarcely have invented a more subtle or effective ploy.
But I love the fact she was just like, where have you been? I've never seen you before. Boning. Just boning.
She's like, oh.
Okay, sure. Carry on.
Even in the depths of space, they're still British.
I always find that violent exercise makes me hungry. Don't you agree?
And you'd better enjoy your meal, Doctor, because it might be your last.
Oh, you think so?
So the Doctor and his team at the same time, they get rescued from this demon, whatever it is that's killing people down there, and they get taken to the Adjudication Lodge.
Oh,
which is just
nice.
like a fancy hotel kind of thing where all the top adjudicators live.
It's literally a travel lodge.
Yeah, yep. Important point that you don't realize at first, because this book is quite slow in revealing all of the plot points, which is nice.
Yeah,
is that a lot of the characters on this Federation ship are of different species. So there's an Alpha Centauri.
Oh, with the loud high-pitched voice and the... I don't think I have I was going to do a voice changer thing. I don't think I have anything on here.
And then there's several humans, but it points out that they're different races. They're not all white. It's an important point later.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because it's obviously clear, because David A. McIntee wrote for Star Trek a lot. If you write for Star Trek, you've got to understand a multicultural, the Star Trek, the whole point of it is you need a multicultural crew and stuff around you.
All will be revealed.
Oh, wonderful.
Koschei and Ayla are going to go down to the planet as the diplomatic envoys.
Right.
They've said that's what their job is, so that's what they're going to do. There was a great line where one of the other crewmates pulled Leia aside and was like, have you ever been part of a diplomatic visit? No, I haven't. Okay, here's 2 pieces of advice. Be careful what you eat at the buffet and try not to get sexually assaulted.
Fucking hell.
I
mean, it's true. It's true, but what? You had to just say it?
It's because they think that the people living down on the colony are humans who have been without contact from any other part of the universe for 350 years.
Right.
So they're like, well, human culture was garbage back then.
Yeah.
So these people are going to be primitive to what we know. So they won't know not to sexually assault you. Is the vibe it's going for there.
Oh, so, yeah, it's the 27th century or something like. Oh no, she's from the 27th century.
Yeah.
So okay. So
I think
basically it's the 90s down there, man.
Yeah. I thought that was funny because with these 90s books and these 90s properties, you never know, as we know from Legacy of the Daleks, things can get heavy or inappropriate. So I was like, oh, is this Chekhov's sexual assault?
This is the thing, right? I was going to mention John Peel before, obviously, because from everything I've heard, John Peel's books was shit, right? It was shit. But for every John Peel, you've got a David A. McIntee or a Ben Aronovich, who are really forward-thinking,
Yes,
multicultural.
I'm happy to report there is no sexual assault at all in this book. We did it.
Yay!
All the women are fine. And guess what? They've all got personalities and they've got traits and they're all different from one another.
Hooray!
Yeah. Because you really do grow to love Ayla.
Mhm.
Because the master loves her. Like, he thinks she's great.
Mhm.
So you do. It's kind of like, it's funny because the doctor is quite dismissive of his companions, especially in his second regeneration that he is now. So having the master love...
Don't say that. Tumblr have very explicit views on what the Doctor and Jamie get up to.
Don't worry, the doctor loves Jamie in this. They're fine. It's Victoria who he's like, let's go over there.
I think that's actually a reflection of what the fans feel. I remember I was doing an episode of Earth Station Who, and someone was just like, oh yeah, because it had Vicky in it, and I was like, I always confuse Vicky and Victoria, and they're just like, oh yeah, well, Vicky's the good one, Victoria's shit. It's like, okay, wow.
We will now change the subject, please.
Down on the colony, the security system has found a match for the doctor and his companions, which I think's a fun fact. It's like, oh, our security system knows these three. They were on the base when the Ice Warriors incident happened.
Okay, so again, like, he's trying to tie little...
Yeah, so Victoria and Jamie and the doctor have done that adventure, come here, and their records still show them, and they're like, well, they haven't aged. So they're getting suspicious of them. But they're like, oh, keep them close. We've got them in the lodge. It's fine.
Can I just say at this point, one thing, and I think you and I were talking about this not long ago, about how fandom wants constant referential, like, nature in their shows and stuff like that. That's why, like, things in, say, Doctor Who, the most recent series, things fell flat, like with Wild Blue Yonder, because everyone wanted it to be, a remake of Scherzo or something like that. And, like, this is how you do referential well.
Yeah.
Like having, like, reference...
It follows that a human colony would have records that showed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you put it in a universe, like, instead of making it part of the last thing, you put it in the same universe as the last thing and sort of join the dots up. Whereas I think people expect constant references and constant crossovers because of things like Star Wars, which are built for... The whole point of Star Wars is, like, uber J.R.R. Tolkien, where you know the name and location of every single character in the universe over a period of a few thousand years, and you can make them all interact. Whereas just, like, having that sort of dip back to the show to tie it in is an elegant way of doing things.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to read you just a bit from him showing up at the diplomatic meeting. He now wore the dress uniform of an adjudicator of the 31st century, such a dark midnight blue that it could easily be taken for the inky hue of a blackbird. So disguised, he was scarcely going to risk attracting attention by mountaineering around the exterior of the adjudication lodge like some common criminal. Instead, he marched straight up to the front door, and a desk sergeant started to rise as he entered, but Koschei waved him to sit back down at the terminal. That's all right, Sergeant.
We talk about the master mugging a lot.
Yeah.
That's not mugging, that's just baller. That's just like... Yeah, I'm going to trade. I don't care what you think.
That's the characteristic of this master. I belong here all the time, no matter where I am.
Yeah.
No one ever questions me because I just appear to belong all the time.
It's the mental equivalent of carrying a clipboard.
So they have this diplomatic party where representatives from the Federation ship have come down to the colony and they're all sort of mingling and talking. The doctor reveals that he wasn't part of the landing party that came from the Federation or anywhere, like that he's from his own ship. So now the Empire colonists are even more suspicious because they're like, well, he must have his own ship. How'd he get here?
Like, why do you do this to yourself? Why?
Yeah.
Constantly.
Well, I think that Jamie and Victoria are both like, stop. While everyone's busy at the party, the master sneaks away and heads into the security building. And he is accessing camera feeds and security files. And he finds a feed that's completely black, and it's labeled The Dark Heart. And he's like, well, must be worth seeing if it's a secret.
Yeah, exactly. And, if it's got such a moody, metaphorical name.
Dark Heart.
The Dark Heart.
At this point, the master is doing way more investigation than the doctor is doing. The doctor's doing more of a social investigation, whereas the master's just like, facts. I'm looking at the camera footage. I'm going into the records.
Whereas the doctor's investigating the buffet.
Aaliyah starts to get worried because she realizes that this is basically a colony of cops. They're all...
Jesus Christ. A colony of cops.
Yeah. Like, they're all these adjudicators. They're all like militaristic sort of police. And she goes up to the other... I'll let you have a moment.
Sorry. Planet of the pigs. Foundation of the filth. So, cops.
Yeah. She goes up to the woman from the spaceship, like the Federation ship that she's with, and she goes, "This has all the trappings of a military dictatorship." And the person goes, "Oh, that's it. That's exactly it." The Empire, like, because they're all like, "What's going on here?"
This has all the trappings. It sounds like a Noel Coward play. This has all the trappings of a military dictatorship. You know, that's exactly what I was thinking. Good Lord, you're right.
The Empire wasn't a military dictatorship. It was a huge lumbering bureaucracy with almost as many civil servants as civilians. This place has retained all the symbols of the Empire, the ships, adjudicators, and what have you, but it has become skewed. That's, again, this is the mystery that all the characters are trying to solve. Something's not right here. Why are they all cops?
Planet full of cops. It's my worst nightmare.
You know when you write, I don't know, you probably know because you can see that this probably won't make it in. When I do jokes in the notes, but it only works when you're looking at the notes.
Oh, okay.
So like, Aaliyah turned towards the buffet table and was surprised to see Koschei at the far side of it. And I've just written, "He's hungry." And then in the next scene, they break into someone's apartment and it says, "Koschei merely opened a small drinks cooler in the lounge and shook his head disparagingly. Nothing remotely palatable. But if I can offer you anything while we wait," and I wrote, "He's thirsty."
Jesus Christ.
But it's not useful information. I just thought it was funny.
You're allowed to be funny, Amber. You're allowed to be funny in the podcast. In fact, I'd advise it.
So basically, while they're at the party, they meet this guy called Viscount Gothard, and he seems to be a bureaucrat who's in charge of the cops.
Viscount Gothard sounds like he sounds like one of the like landed gentry who was expelled from England in the Second World War because of his German ties.
Endeavoring to find out what's going on as efficiently as possible.
Too late.
The master says, "Right, he's in charge. We're going to his house," and they break into his apartment to look for answers.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's getting it done.
Just a bit of light breaking and entering on a planet of cops.
The master thinks it must be a creature, or maybe it's some kind of ship, or some kind of technological device.
What, the Dark Heart?
Yes.
Yep.
So they're looking for clues in his apartment, which has a lovely sunken lounge. And I was like, no matter when or where anything is, there's a sunken lounge.
A conversation pit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yes. Bring back conversation pits, damn it.
Yeah, they help themselves to the mini bar in this, like, this apartment while they're searching.
While we're here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Meanwhile, Victoria and Jamie sort of realize something, and then so do the Federation ship members at the party. The colony are racists.
Okay, so it's a planet of racist cops.
There's no aliens here. It's all humans, and they all like it that way.
Oh my God. Sorry, it's just... Wait, there's something wrong here. There's no fire escape in this gay bar. Jesus Christ. I love that it's just like they suddenly realize it's just like, something not quite right about this place.
Yeah.
Even though they both come from like an Anglo Celtic area.
It's that Victoria says to Jamie, she makes a comment, and the Federation crew, I believe, like overhear her or something and go, "Oh, she's right." Like it's separate conversations kind of thing. Like
no, sorry, hold on. Is this the same one who was just like, oh, "You're right" to Ayla as well? It's like,
yes,
is the guard's whole option?
Well, she comes from a utopian paradise of the Federation, I suppose, which is why it went to such lengths to show us that there were so many different aliens and races on board the Federation ship. So suddenly when she comes down here, it doesn't dawn on her because it's not something that she's used to, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I just like the idea that this one person's whole job is to go, Oh my God, you're right. Like in that episode of, like in The Magician's Apprentice, where Missy is like doing shit to Unit, and Kate Stewart, for some reason,
just like,
has been nerfed. Like, Kate Stewart is just like, oh my God, that could happen. Oh my God, that could happen.
Yeah. No, Captain Sherman is a great character, so I don't want her to be relegated to that. She has a bigger part in this book, but this is definitely just the dawning on them scenes.
That's a lot of passengers.
That's a lot of fuel.
Oh, dear God. Yes, it is. Okay, so we need the doctor.
Kate, we can't just phone the doctor and bleat. You'll go Scottish. Come on.
Today I should be talking to you out of square window.
What the hell was that? How did she do that? I don't know, some sort of psychic projection or something. Oh, great. Thanks.
Back in Gothard's apartment, Koschei and Elia are interrupted by Gothard returning. Basically, the Master does like a James Bond villain thing where he turns around in the chair and he has a gun pointed.
Amazing. He did do that in one story, I'm sure.
He does it a lot, I think.
Yeah. You're no adjudicator, Gothard said wonderingly. Federation spies, more like. He drew a dueling knife from a forearm sheath and lunged at Koschei with the blade, but Koschei was faster. He sidestepped the thrust and quickly grabbed Gothard's head, twisting it with a crack. Gothard tumbled to the floor, his head lolling at a distinctly unhealthy angle. Koschei cursed under his breath and smoothed out his suit. He shook his head sadly. Now, what am I going to do with you? This was inconvenient, not to mention untidy. A corpse was just exactly the sort of slip-up he'd been trying to avoid. Bodies lying about the place betrayed a lack of order. In a way, having to kill was a symptom of being ill-prepared and possibly unprofessional. Interesting. But yeah, you're right. He grabs him, snaps his neck. You can hear in the background.
Maybe normally he just would have remorselessly TCE'd him or something, but it's quite he doesn't like that he's had to do this.
Do you think what this is showing is his slow sort of steps into the callousness of the fact that it's not something he likes, but it's something that he did very quickly and he did very easily.
Yes, and I think the foundation of him still believing himself to be a Time Lord, so therefore some level of superior exists as a foundation.
Time Lord.
Yeah, a bit of a foundation of character that, you don't just turn evil overnight. There's got to be little things that lead to it. He makes a mask. I don't know how, but he makes a mask of Gothard's face.
That's some Mission Impossible shit. On the fly, just making a mask of his face and then wearing it.
Yeah, and he puts on one of Gothard's suits as well. There's a cute joke where Elia says, "Is this why they call you Two-Faced?" And he's like, "I don't understand what that means." And she's like, "It's an Earth expression." I just love this continuing thing of he doesn't get Earth stuff.
He doesn't get idiom.
Yeah. They find an image of a pyramid on Gothard's computer.
Oh, it's always a pyramid. Wait, is it a pyramid or is it a ziggurat?
It's got stairs on the inside of it. It's a pyramid.
Yeah, okay, fair. Yeah.
He goes into Gothard's private lift, and I think this is a design flaw. He opens a trapdoor in the floor of the lift. I don't know.
This is very James Bond. It is so James Bond.
And he just throws Gothard's body in there.
Yeah, I feel like that is not something that. I suppose he has to find somewhere to put him, but otherwise he's just leaving a body everywhere.
Yeah, but he pushes it in there. But I wouldn't put a trapdoor in the floor of a lift.
No. Well, it's the thing, isn't it? There are something like 8 or 9 different fail-safes to stop anything going wrong with lifts, and most people are injured in lifts when they climb up through the inspection hatch through the top.
Victoria has left the party. She got bored because it was all diplomatic talk, and she's like, "Oh, I'm not good at that."
Diplomatic talk, and also white as hell.
Well, yeah. So she's like, "No, I don't want to be here anymore." So she leaves, and we do get the fake out where someone is following her, and you're like, "Oh, is this the
Oh
the
God,
thing?"
no, not John Peel again.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's Elia, because Elia's gone to look for this pyramid, and she finds Victoria, and they're getting on, and she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't be out here by yourself, and it's raining. Here, come into my ship." And she takes Victoria into Koschei's TARDIS. Filing cabinet mention. The filing cabinets are in it. They're in there.
It's been over a year now since that filing cabinet disaster, and I'm still not over it. For that, please see episode whichever one that was.
So yes, the room had filing cabinets and strange cylinders that the doctors didn't, but the hexagonal central console with its transparent central column was unmistakable. So it's a bit different.
Which is often the case. I mean, as we've said before, it's like in what is it, Planet of Fire again, where it's just like the Master TARDIS is exactly the same as the Doctor's TARDIS, only all black. Black everywhere.
Ayla returns Victoria to the Doctor and Jamie, unharmed, and she mentions Koschei.
Mm-hmm.
And the Doctor looks worried when he hears that name.
Right.
We don't know why at that point. It just says he looks worried when he hears the name.
I mean, we can probably extrapolate from data given to us.
Well, later on, I don't quite know when, but it does reveal that he thinks that Koschei must be hunting him because the Time Lords want him back on Gallifrey because he's turned renegade. So that he thinks that that's why Koschei is here.
Right. Okay.
There is a moment or later on where he's like, wait, you mean you're only here because your TARDIS got stuck in the time vortex just like mine? Like laughing at
Wow, that is so the Doctor.
Victoria and Jamie have another realization.
They're having many realizations.
They do. They're doing good investigation work. Victoria realizes that there's no children here. Yeah, they're all just their room's been bugged by this point. There's the head adjudicator called Terrell is listening in, and he's like, they're finding out too many things about us. Don't like this.
It's just like, you know what? This place is a bit of a fascist state. You know what? It's everyone's white. Isn't that a bit weird? You know what? I've noticed there are no children. There was a sign over there that said death camps. What do you think that meant? Come on!
The demon reappears. We've been hearing about it in the background. I haven't mentioned it. It attacks the room that they're in. It kills some adjudicators who conveniently have come to arrest them at the same time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and they escape out the window.
They defenestrate themselves.
And Victoria is like, I know where we can go that's safe, and she leads them back to Koschei's TARDIS and's like, we'll be safe in here.
Okay, fair enough. And the Doctor's just like, oh, this is nice.
There is great. It says the Doctor was examining the console like a dog examining a butcher's storeroom.
And drooling, I assume.
There's like a lot of like back and forth with Jamie, like Victoria praising Koschei's TARDIS and saying how amazing it is, but Jamie siding with the Doctor and being like, no, I love the Doctor's TARDIS. It's quaint and nice. And
always have your besties back.
Yes, definitely. So they do discover that they mention what they've discovered to Ayla, and together they go through the records and find, yes, there are no birth registries on this colony. And the Doctor starts to wonder, have they discovered the secret to immortality here?
Ooh.
Ayla and the Doctor are doing that, and there's this weird moment where Victoria's just like minding the scanner, and she just hears two adjudicators talking. And she just hears them going, oh yeah, so I hear that they want to use the Doctor's TARDIS that we found for these spare parts for the, and she's like, what? Oh my, and without telling anyone, she runs out of the TARDIS being like, I'll be the hero. I'll find out what they're talking about.
Oh no.
Yes, the Doctor's TARDIS has been captured by these adjudicators and they are using it for something. And Victoria goes into the pyramid to see what they're talking about.
Right.
Because they've now parked Koschei's TARDIS outside the pyramid.
Right.
Meanwhile, Koschei has gone for a walk dressed as Gothard to the other end of the city so that when they look at security logs for where Gothard is, they'll see that he just went for a walk somewhere that's nowhere near where they need to be. He's just covering his base. He's being very thorough.
Right.
Victoria is sneaking around the pyramid when suddenly someone grabs her. She gets grabbed and pulled into the shadows a lot. But just as a adjudicator squad go past, it's Koschei, and he has rescued her from being spotted. And it says, whoever he was, Victoria could see that he was obviously a gentleman. And he does the whole thing of like kissing her hand and saying, my dear, and like being endearing to her.
Aww.
Yeah.
Koschei had led Victoria to a short flight of steps that led up onto the wall. Both of them were moving on automatic pilot as they gazed at the sight before them. Victoria could understand his transfixion as she looked about her in awe. In all her travels with the Doctor, she had never seen anything like this. The landscape spread out below her was almost entirely composed of huge steps of the same ore. The different heights and shapes of the steps gave the area a patchwork appearance, and it reminded Victoria of the Giant's Causeway in Ireland. Nonetheless, the horizon still curved downwards from their perpetually elevated position. The path through which she and Koschei had walked was one of myriad black lines cut into the surface. The paths were everywhere, twisting in an angular maze. Koschei pointed. "And there is our destination, Miss Waterfield." She followed the line of his arm. "At least, I don't see anywhere else nearby that seems particularly significant." He was indicating an area not too far off, where an impossibly huge forest of arched tubes and pipes looped around a gunmetal amphitheatre. As they neared the edge, Victoria could see that the far side was at least a mile or two away. Gargantuan pipes and pillars looped hundreds of yards into the air before plunging back into the ground. Directly above was a strangely pulsating grey nothingness. It wasn't really light or dark, but the total absence of either. There was a sound, too, a very faint pulsing, mixed with static and screams and music and a host of noises she couldn't identify. It was like a storm a long way off. "What is that noise?" Koschei regarded the grey mass thoughtfully. "That, Miss Waterfield, is the thunderous sound of butterflies being trampled." Bloody Ruby Sunday again.
So they go down into this, the dark heart, and they discover that the dark heart is being used to halt the aging process of the colonists, and it keeps them healthy and immortal, but it makes them sterile.
I mean, good. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you would then never... But if it's keeping people in basically a state of stasis, right? It's not letting them grow. If they were to have children, then how would the...
Yes, so it works. This is the point where they finally converge, the storylines.
Oh, good.
Yes, finally we're here. They finally meet, and I love the greeting between them because I think they've always got like the best greetings, especially when it's a new pair. Koschei calls him Doctor, not any other kind of name.
Right.
So the Doctor is already established as
The Doctor.
the Doctor.
"Congratulations," a rich and charming voice said from behind them. "I doubt I could have put it any better myself." Jamie and the Doctor turned. A saturnine, bearded figure in an immaculate suit was standing there, leaning against the side of a higher outcrop of the metallic ore. Though no taller than the Doctor, his compact build gave him an unmistakable air of power. He smiled slowly. "Why, Doctor, whatever are you doing in such a nasty place?"
I just like the idea of him propping himself up against the, like leaning up against the thing to putting his, like brushing his hair down and then announcing himself being there.
Just like sees him around the corner, he's like, "Right, straighten that up, brush it." All right.
Who is that Scottish twink that he's with? Oh, because Jamie at this point is in complete Highlander, like regal garb at this point, because they've come from the party basically.
Right.
So like Jamie's in full Highlander at this point. But there is a kind of a great thing where Jamie's like, "Oh, who's this Doctor?" And he's like, "Oh, this is a friend from school." And it's like when you're with your new partner who doesn't know that your ex is in front of you. It's like, "Who's this?" And you're like, "This is an old friend of mine." Victoria, she's all about him.
Mhm.
She's like, this guy's great, doctor. Like, he's thorough. He's getting things done. He isn't being whimsical.
Yeah.
He's just like straight down the line.
Isn't being whimsical. Is that your word?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was like, that's a bit self-aware for Victoria.
Like, she's like, well, when I was with Koschei, he was doing this. And the doctor's like, was he now? Like,
He let us have McDonald's.
yeah, it's a bit like that. And he's like, and Ayla's great and she loves him too. And she's really like, I could totally see Victoria ditching the doctor for Koschei.
Would you ditch the doctor for Koschei? Please write in.
They find out this colony is founded on top of a space-time conduit. It's clearly the source of the temporal interference we encountered and is very dangerous in the wrong hands. Which are, well, humanity's for one. No offense. That's
Okay,
Koschei
nice.
talking to Ayla. Koschei wants to destroy the conduit, but he acknowledges that he needs to study it before that because he can't just destroy it without knowing what the consequences are.
So this is bringing in also like wanting to know what the consequences of destroying something is a good thing, but also this is the young master being analytical. And one thing I would like to ask, imagine that they didn't have to put Roger Delgado on the cover.
Yeah.
And imagine you didn't know and you were reading this book. How would you feel when it got to this bit? How would you feel when, like, in being told that this is, or being heavily implied that this is a young master? Like, do you think, I mean, it's so hard to know, really, isn't it? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's hard to know. Because I have written here, that, like, this is a great pairing. Because the silly doctor against this serious master means that the master is the one who's more sensible.
Yeah.
So, he clearly knows that this particular Doctor Regeneration is like a clown, but he also clearly finds that very endearing.
Yeah.
I do love the way that it gets that across, that, like, he knows this one and he understands that this is what this one's like. And, like, the Doctor complains that the Master is too busy researching and studying, where he should be leaping into action instead. And then they just both start bickering in Gallifrey with one another, and the companions can't understand what they're saying.
I mean, maybe if they learned Esperanto.
But I do, so as what you said, I do like that these two feel closer.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the closest they feel for a long time. Like, they're familiar when they're 3 in Delgado, but this one feels like they do know each other.
Yeah.
And they do like each other. They have no reason to hate each other at this point in time.
An interesting point. Like, if, as you said, like, make it someone like your ex, or maybe even just someone you went to high school with, right? So, say, imagine, and I mean, I certainly can, someone I was best friends with in high school, who then, on the few occasions that you met them after high school, got progressively worse until by the time you actually meet them again in your 30s, you're just like, I know who you are. I don't care about you anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with you anymore. And that's kind of what Terror of the Autons feels like. The Doctor's just like, oh, I'm done with you, because,
Yes.
and that really helps fill in the headcanon of the Inventor Master and the War Chief.
Yes, because this Master version has done nothing to piss this Doctor off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only reason he was worried at the start was because he thought that Koschei was here to hunt him and bring him back, but now that he knows that that's not the case, yeah, it's just like an old school friend.
Yeah.
So you're reading this and you're like, damn, what happens that they hate each other when we see them again?
Yeah.
Like, because here, they're not like super duper close. They're not like best friends, like, oh, give me a hug, I haven't seen you in years. But they know each other. They're familiar. They're school friends. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from this. They are no more than school friends, really.
Yeah.
So the Master, he wants to shut down the Dark Heart through a feedback loop, but the Doctor disagrees. So the Doctor leaves the pyramid and goes back to the TARDIS and convinces Ayla, like, I can't convince him. You need to go down there and tell him to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't do it. He won't listen to me, but he will listen to you. You two are friends. He likes you. Please go do that. Ayla goes down there, but adjudicators follow her, and then he hears adjudicators coming, and then this happens.
There was a white flash that seemed to imprint the scene onto Koschei's retinas, the power console glowing like some sorcerous altar as Ayla was suspended before it, impaled by the laser bolt that lanced through her. In truth, it lasted but a fraction of a second, and then Ayla crashed limply to the floor. Koschei's face drained of all colour. He crashed to his knees beside her. Ayla! She shook slightly, charred skin cracking. Don't worry, she gasped through gritted teeth. Already her eyes were starting to unfocus. It's not over. It was typical of her to look on the bright side. She was a fighter to the last. Her face contorted in pain. I wanted to tell you Her breath rattled out one last time. You... Disbelief segued into dismay, then pain in his expression, as Koschei's breath exhaled in an almost silent wail. It seemed to take forever, the moment interminably and unbearably frozen. He pressed his ear to her breast. There wasn't a sound. This is not supposed to happen. Being characteristically thorough, he placed the heel of his hand over her heart and tried to massage it back to life. It didn't work. No amount of pressure or pounding made a difference, and he soon sat back on his heels. This wasn't supposed to happen. With the fingertips of his right hand, he touched the blood that ran from the corner of her mouth. It was still warm. He touched the index finger of his left hand to his own cheek, just below the tear duct. It came away dry. He leant forward and kissed her very gently, but no breath returned from between her lips. Not yet, he muttered in a harsh tone. This isn't over yet. He stood up, wiping the blood from his fingers with a silk handkerchief. Unfolding the handkerchief, Koschei laid it gently across her face, then turned and marched out of the room without a backward glance. Yeah, that's heart-wrenching.
Yeah, because, obviously we've only been summarizing, but they were close.
Yeah.
And he kills her.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks he's shooting an adjudicator, but it's her because he doesn't know that she's there. And my God, this hits him so hard. And he has conversations with the other characters, especially with Victoria, where he is just beating himself up. Like, I was careless. I meant to be thorough. I meant to be every detail. And the one detail I couldn't account for was the fact that she was there.
Yeah.
And it's just devastated him. So the doctor, he sees them removing her body from the pyramid, so he knows that Ayla's dead, and he gets captured by adjudicators. And there's a great moment where they're interrogating him, and they show him a picture of himself from the ice base, and they say, no man lives that long, and he just goes, don't they?
Don't they?
Like, looking at them, and they're like, oh.
Ooh, burn!
Yeah. The driving plot for the rest of this story is that Koschei realizes that he can use this dark heart and manipulate it because he's a Time Lord.
Yep.
And he'll be able to bring Ayla back without creating a paradox if he can harness its power and target it on her death.
Right.
And it's basically because it's him that got her killed. That's what he's got to atone for this. He's got to find a way to bring her back because he's not meant to make mistakes.
How much of that is guilt and how much of that is him caring about her, and how much of that is just him not being able to handle the fact that he didn't do something right, that he wasn't meticulously planned, that he didn't consider it? Like, what do you think from reading it?
I think that the novel is really good at towing the line between, yes, he made a mistake and he wants to undo it, because I think it's meant to be hinting that she's going to say that she loves him.
Yes, obviously, yeah.
But then I think that there is then that, as we know what he's going to become, that taste of what power he could wield,
right,
then starts to be like, well, I could bring it back because I'm that powerful. Like, death doesn't, affect things that I love. Like, he starts to, it tinges into getting like that corruption of, well, now he's going to go too far.
Right.
If he just left her and accepted his loss and mourned, then, he'd probably be more like the Doctor.
Right.
But now he has to fix it. And with that comes this power he probably shouldn't be wielding.
Right.
He then goes to Terrell, who the head of the adjudicators, and is like, yeah, I want to experiment with the dark heart, and you'll let me. And Terrell's like, I don't know why, but yes, I will. And Terrell starts getting annoyed that the master just starts taking over and being in control because his hypnotic power is just sort of like radiating off him, and all the colonists just start listening to him and letting him do what he wants.
So this is him starting to take over, really.
Yes.
So yeah, someone who we know is going to turn into a like mass murdering villain has just taken control of a fascist planet of cops.
Yes. Victoria and Jamie are attacked again by this demon, but Victoria runs away, scared, before it can reveal what it is.
Yeah.
And she runs into Koschei again. And she's about to be arrested, but he stops them because he's in charge. He's like, no, she's mine. Don't leave her alone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this great scene where she tries to console him because she liked Ayla as well, and she finds out she's dead. And she tries to console him, but it's kind of that unwanted, like, they're in a better place. And he's like, like, no. And she's just trying to do the human thing of reassuring him. And he's just getting hardened and hardened to this sort of sympathy.
I don't know what I've got a thing in my head and I can't remember what it is. It's some form of like sci-fi property or something like that but I remember there's a character who's obviously trying to bring his wife back from the dead or something that. He's trying to bring his wife back from the dead, but the thing is the situation consumes him. And at one point says, "What would your wife think?" And he says, "I don't care about my wife. I care about this."
I mean, is it Dr. Freeze from Batman? Or
no,
I know what you mean. I do know there is something that is that.
It's that line, "I don't care about my wife. I care about this." And like it's just that's how it's moved on.
The film I was referring to was Christopher Nolan's The Prestige, based on the novel by Christopher Priest.
You think you can see everything, don't you? The great Danton is a blind fool. His notebook.
You stole it?
I borrowed it for tonight. I thought you could translate some of it, but now I know you can't.
Olivia, no one can. It's a cipher. Even with a keyword, it would take months to decode.
And without the keywords?
Perhaps never. We'll see.
We will not see. If I don't get that back to him by tomorrow morning, he'll know I took it.
Leave him.
I can't. He knows where I live.
This is his diary. Olivia, all of his secrets are right here in my hands.
It won't bring your wife back.
I don't care about my wife. I care about his secret.
They discover that this conduit was built by the chronivores, or the ancestors to what will become the chronivores.
Right, cool.
And it was for them to bring time energy out of the vortex into our reality to feed their young.
Yep. So chronivores, Kronos, the time monster. Yep.
Koschei reveals the true nature of this device, and then it can be used to target like specific points in time and space. And he hands it over to the racists, basically. He's like, "Here, this is how you use it."
And then, weirdly, the thing that's in my head now is the image of, I was watching Futurama the other night, and it was the episode with the penguins, and like the penguins find like shotguns that have been left on the ice, and they pick them up and they learn how to use them. I'm just like, you've given the penguins guns.
He sets up his own remote controlling station for this device. Basically, he's also given power to the racists, the colony, so that they can just go off and use it, like, and they'll leave him alone because it takes time to use. So he's like, "Yeah, you guys go off and play with it over there. I'm going to be here, actually, like, doing a proper calibration of what I want to do with it."
Yeah. Okay.
Remember, there's a whole nother plot happening that we haven't even
With
touched on.
Draconians.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to check, because I read through a quick précis of the story. Is this B plot the plot that the racists are going to use it to make everyone else in the universe human?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Which I only bring up. I know with it's it can be set to the side. I only bring it up because that's what, like, according to Big Finish, that's what Rassilon did with the Time Lords.
Yes.
You know, he sent back his DNA through the untempered schism, which just jacking it into the time hole. Which is why everyone looks basically humanoid in the universe.
There is another great hang on a minute moment where Sherman looks around the Federation ship and realizes that there are less and less aliens.
Yeah.
And that there are more and more humans. because
they're turning into humans.
Yeah.
I like that.
Victoria's with Koschei, and he does this whole thing where he kind of corrupts her. I think this is at this point, McIntee is basically being like, this is him being evil, like him justifying things. And he's trying to corrupt Victoria by being, she's like, oh, you can't use this machine to kill those like draconians and stuff. That's awful. That's evil. You can't do that. And he's like, oh yeah. And he brings up Skaro on the monitor.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, weren't your family killed by Daleks? He's like, you could say the word right now and I'll kill them. And your family will be alive and you'll be back with them. And nothing bad will have ever happened. And he's kind of hypnotizing her.
Mm-hmm.
He's giving her this speech, like, wouldn't that be good? And she gets hypnotized, but she agrees. Yes, we should like kill Skaro and things. So he's really starting to.
That worked so well for the Time Lords.
Like he's like, I couldn't save Ayla, but we could save your family, and then I can save it. Like, this is what I want. Isn't that what you want?
Doesn't the War Master do that exact same thing with the soldier who said to kill him in Anti-Genesis? He's just like, we could fix that. We can get your family back. Easy.
I think that's what we'll talk about later. I think Scott Hancock will have read this.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the comparisons to the War Master at the end.
Yep. Okay.
The Master comes into his TARDIS, and standing in front of him is the Doctor, Jamie and Victoria. No, Victoria's with him, sorry. So Jamie and the demon, which has been revealed to just be an alien, and the colonists were just racists and thought it was a monster, but it was actually just an alien that had crash landed there and needed sanctuary and had been looking for the Doctor and Jamie because it thought it could help.
Right.
Ayla's there because in a big reveal, Ayla wasn't a human. Ayla was a Time Lord.
Oh no.
And she's regenerated.
Well, and so hasn't the Master like done some pretty bad some real bad shit to get her back, and it just turns out he didn't need to.
Yeah, and then not only that, Ayla's spying on him for the Time Lords because they were worried that the Master was going to do some things, so they sent her to watch him.
So in just like with the Time War, in them trying to fuck with time to stop something happening, they have made it happen.
Yeah.
They created the Master is Time Lord's hubris.
Yeah. This is a gut punch of a moment.
Right?
Like, because everyone in that room feels so sorry for him.
Mm.
And he just feels betrayed. Like, he just is devastated.
I mean, the Doctor's equal parts sorry and also really glad it didn't happen to him.
And the Doctor says, "What happened to you?" Sounding genuinely worried for his friend. Like, I just think that's...
Yep.
He's now seeing his friend becoming all twisted. And Koschei responds,
"What's happened?" Koschei repeated in a murmur, knowing that the Doctor would hear him nonetheless. "My people mistrust me. I killed one of my best friends who was sent to me by the other, and both betray me." Koschei smiled faintly as he went on. He opened his eyes, the tawny flecks in them glittering like tiny candle flames arrayed on round mahogany as he matched the Doctor's firm gaze. "I have found myself, Doctor, and I am the stronger for it."
Yeah, like, this moment...
And that's like, if this was an audio, you would have in the background, da-da-da-dun, in the background, in the background about...
Yeah, I do love this. It kind of shows what, like, this Master could have been. Like, it also kind of shows why he's the way he is with Jo. Because there was capacity to have a companion that he adored and, followed him and he relied on.
Yeah.
But he just can't anymore. Like, so with Jo, there's that I feel like there's that leftover with her.
Yeah.
Like, he'll tolerate her and he'll even have a tiny bit of fun. But ultimately, he just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Earlier, when he handed over the dark heart to the fascists, someone like, this is how to use it. Like, he committed genocide thinking that it was the only way to bring back Ayla.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just sort of thrown back in his face by all the others, by them being like, well, you committed genocide, you're awful. And he's like, but I did it because like,
do the ends justify the means? And in the end, that's always been like the Doctor versus the Master, right? The Master's like, yep, ends, means, fine.
This version of him is genuinely pained to have done that and to have basically sold a part of his soul for the one he loved, probably. And it meant nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ayla says, Koschei, I know you're in some sort of shock, but you must see that this is wrong. Must I, Ayla? Or is that the official position? Devastating. Like, that's just... He just has taken it. It just shows you how much he hates the Time Lord.
Yep.
They then have the massive, it's 3 pages long speech about, Doctor, you and I, let's rule the cosmos. Instead, with the power of the Dark Heart, we can merge it with our TARDIS, and they can exist in every moment of space and time all at once. We can ascend to omnipotence, you and me. That's the power we as Time Lords could wield with this machine. And obviously the Doctor refuses. And yeah, Koschei basically says a ship can't have 2 captains.
Right. Yep.
He is undone by the fact that he has Victoria hypnotized and he gives her a gun and he's like, Doctor, you're going to control the power transference out here and send it into my TARDIS to merge my TARDIS with the Dark Heart while I'm inside. We need to flick the switches at the same time. Victoria, you just shoot yourself if he doesn't do that. And if he tries to talk to you, look at you, do anything with you, also shoot yourself. Thank you. That's how it's going to work. And he goes into his TARDIS. But he doesn't know that Jamie is around. So
People
Jamie
always forget the Scotsman.
Jamie comes in, sees what's happening, and just takes the gun out of Victoria's hand and doesn't stop her because he didn't tell...
Malicious compliance in the workplace.
Yeah. And then he's like, what's going on? Why haven't you done that? And like, yeah, he just got foiled because Jamie's just walked into the scene. It's this huge, massive build-up, and it just feels like, in true Doctor Who style, that's how it ended. Like, he just, the tiniest oversight.
Yep.
He didn't say, if anyone tries to stop you. He just says, if the Doctor tries to stop you. And the Doctor says, Koschei. And he replies, that name no longer has any meaning for me, Doctor. In time, you will call me Master. Yeah. The Doctor sets the machine to destroy the neuron star that's powering it so that there's no power source, so it shuts itself down.
Mm-hmm.
And it will destroy the colony too, but everyone will have enough time to evacuate, thankfully.
That works out neatly.
Yes. So what happens is that the Doctor does that once Koschei is inside his TARDIS, attempting to fly away.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, again, a comparison to an X. I've just written with these readings, when you throw out your ex's old stuff and delete their number. And it's basically him and his TARDIS deleting Ayla's room and jettisoning all of her stuff into the time vortex.
Can I read that? Because it actually looks
sure.
good. Koschei stood in the console room of his TARDIS, gazing unblinkingly at a small panel on the console. It was labelled Interior Space Allocation. Beside it, a monitor showed a tangled mess of curved graph lines. Koschei selected one section and highlighted it for deletion. He stood for a moment, then flicked the execute switch with a dismissive wave. Ayla's quarters vanished from the TARDIS, tossed into the chaotic void of the space-time vortex. Koschei then opened an inspection panel on the console and physically tore out a chunk of crystal, which had delicate circuits embedded in it. Just so they don't get any ideas about dragging me home. He dropped the crystal to the floor and smashed it with his heel. I will go back when I am ready and not before. Suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, he scoffed. He set a new course on the console and threw the dematerialization switch. Not to be. Koschei threw the switch. It's good. I like the reference.
Yeah, so just quoting Hamlet, throwing away your ex's old stuff, deleting their number, like, it's new you, heading off. However, what happens when he tries to throw the switch? Because the Dark Heart's been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And this next little section is great. It's kind of like that scene from the comic we did where, like, the Master's trying to escape out of the paradox and everything goes all wibbly.
Koschei screamed, his body feeling vastly unbalanced. The TARDIS was screaming too as its walls bulged inwards. With every ounce of strength he could muster, Koschei stretched out a hand that seemed to weigh as much as a planet toward the dematerialization switch. It seemed to take a lifetime to get there.
That bit of text repeats for the next, 3 or 4 paragraph breaks. So it repeats that same thing. It takes a lifetime to reach the switch. It takes a lifetime to reach the switch.
Yeah.
Showing that...
Because everything is sucked into a black hole, including time.
Yeah.
So the time that it takes him to... Yeah.
It's a really great way to end. Mm-hmm. And that's what the book ends on, is also that bit.
Oh, okay.
I do love that Ayla, looking at where the Master's TARDIS was, says, "Perhaps they were right about him after all." She shook her head. "He was a good man." And the Doctor replies, "Yes, he was. Until the end."
And you've just written, "I'm sad."
I am sad. And, oh my God. But then it's got this part where Ayla asks the Doctor to take her home to Gallifrey. And he says, "No, I can't steer my TARDIS properly. I couldn't get you there. It's not possible." And she's like, "All right. And on behalf of the Time Lords, I'm putting you under arrest." And I'm like, "Girl, choose your moments. Now's not the time." And he has her arrested by the Federation take her away. And he's like, "You can live with them. That'd be great. See ya." And then Victoria and Jamie basically have a scene in the TARDIS where Victoria is processing a lot of trauma that she experienced, initiating the genocide of Gallifrey, and Jamie is basically disassociating.
Sounds like Jamie.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the end.
Or is it the beginning? Dun dun dun. I think, having heard all that, I'm going to have to readjust my spreadsheet. I'm going to have to readjust my master listing.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I reckon we can comfortably say that this is an early incarnation of the master that is before the inventor and the war chief.
Yes. As we said when we were talking earlier, just between the two of us, the only problem for that is the destination wars.
I think there is enough of a gap, and just the sort of the politeness of time travel to ignore.
Yeah.
And also, as they've said, Big Finish have given us a great out in your head gets a bit fuzzy when you're around the
each other
sync in time. Because they had the War Master meet the 10th Doctor.
Yes,
so
that's true.
I think that's perfectly okay.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this book. I think it took a little while to get going, but then I was hooked once it did.
Mm-hmm.
I do really think there are a lot of similarities between the War Master and Koschei.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's clear that the current Master team, all of the people involved, have read this book and love it.
So the current War Master run is largely it was started by Nicholas Briggs, obviously.
Yep.
But James Goss has written quite a lot. Guy Adams, but of course the pioneering through basically all of it has been the director and producer Scott Hancock.
Yeah, it's this total commitment to seizing power and trying to change things for the perceived good.
Yeah.
So I think we will be talking about it soonish when we get to the Heavenly Paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
I think I felt the same. Like I said, I cried when I read when I heard the Heavenly Paradigm episode.
Yeah.
This made me feel almost similar in that he just wanted to do save one person that he loved.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That was enough to drive him to do that. And then you can see how that character in a later generation of the War Master is the same. How they kind of have that same personality running through everything.
Yeah. I think from everything you've said, as I said, I haven't actually read the book myself, but from the clips I've read out today and from what you've told me in the book, it sounds like as we said, McIntee loved this character. He wrote about the Master at least 3 times that I have written down. Each time really adding into the Master lore.
Yes. This book had clear vision.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like John Peel fanfiction-y stuff. This had a clear story.
Where he just added in at the end the...
he had an idea about what he wanted to do and how he wanted to explore the characters, and he naturally progressed them to that point without it feeling forced.
Mm-hmm.
And it does such a gut punch moment where you realize Ayla betrayed him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's awful and it's sad, and yeah, I felt bad for the character when reading it, and you then see his transition into, you know, the character the start of the journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the characters are great in this book. It wasn't just the Master. Tu, Jamie, Victoria, Ayla, they were all fantastic characters.
Actually well written.
Yes, well written, yeah. Like, I was worried about Victoria at the start, but she really gets going once they give her own storyline.
Yeah. This has been an odd episode, I know. It's not like we can do a were you attending carefully, because of course I wasn't over. But and I suppose, like, what have we learned? We've covered, like, as we've been going, we've been covering what we've been learning.
I think internally within the podcast we've learned that I think we went into this book skeptical.
We did.
But came out being like, no, this is definitely, I want this to be canon. This is great character work. This is a great understanding of the Master, and this has definitely influenced what we have today.
Yeah, actually, I suppose that's a good point. We were going to talk about the response, because you asked the question on Tumblr,
yes,
which we mentioned briefly at the beginning. You know, why do you call the Master Koschei? And we've had some really interesting responses. A lot of people have said things like that they think that David A. McIntee intended it to be the Master's real name, whereas there's been a sort of even split. Some people saying he intended it to be his real name, and some people saying he intended it to be a nickname.
Yes, because we do know that it actually is a folklore.
Yeah, it's from Slavic folklore.
Yes.
Koschei the Deathless is a sort of villain of the...
Which is funny, because the Deathless is, you know, the opposite, I suppose, of what the Master eventually becomes.
Yes.
Well, he's not Koschei when he dies. He's, yeah.
But I like the idea that it is a name. It's a name he's chosen just for this. It's a nickname. It's like there are some people on Tumblr who seem to have this idea that Theta Sigma is the Doctor's real name, which it isn't. It is mentioned twice in the TV show. And the first time it is mentioned by Drax, who is a former student colleague of the Doctor's.
Who's just hanging out in a cave.
Yeah, it's just like, it's Theta Sigma, isn't it? And the second time, specifically in Happiness Patrol, which I strongly suggest anyone go get the latest Blu-ray of it, because it's gorgeous. But he says, my nickname at the Academy was Theta Sigma. He specifically says that. But most people said it, they've learned about it through fandom and fanfic, and they mainly use it when talking like fic about Academy era Master and Doctor, which, you know, that's not really surprising.
Yes, the Shay rather than
the Shay. This World Enough and Time Rogue said, "Oh, I should really read The Dark Path, shouldn't I?" Yes, you should.
Yes. Because remember, there are so many we didn't even scratch the surface of how good some of those scenes are.
One thing that does keep coming up is people talk about divided loyalties.
Yes.
Which is something, we've got the book.
Yes, it arrived the other day.
We have it.
I will get to that.
It was such a lucky thing. We were talking about it, and you were just like, oh, we need to get that book. I went on eBay and it was $20. I'm like, done.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of people, so... Yeah, confirmed it in divided loyalties again.
But then a lot of people consider divided loyalties not to be canon. It's interesting. That's going to be a whole nother topic of conversation, that book.
So something like with we've got a couple of different themes that we want to work on this year that are kind of loose themes. But I think going with this theme is obviously we're going to look at divided loyalties.
Yes.
Face of the Enemy, if we can get round to it.
I'm halfway through Face of the Enemy, so that's probably very soon. I should just finish the other half of that book.
Some people wrote an essay in the tags, and come on, guys.
I think you should be more positive about the effort they've put in.
I should. But some people and you know, there are some people that are constant likers and commenters and reactors to our posts and stuff. Nifflering is one of these people who I see pop up. The name pops up a lot. But they also said it made it really hard for them to connect Delgado's portrayal to the actual Koschei character.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
I definitely I gave up trying to make it feel like Koschei Delgado in my head. I actually more gravitated towards it looking like Brayshaw, to be honest. Because I felt like it needed to be a younger. It's probably not, though. He did have graying hair at his temples.
Yeah. I reckon, and as I said to you before this, I think now that we are quite happy to know that Time Lords can have the same face,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm quite happy to think that he has the same face in two different incarnations. I think it works.
Yes.
Especially seeing as when he is characterized so differently.
Yes. And McIntee did put on his Tumblr, apparently, Romana's quote about people they can choose. And that was his explanation. He didn't want it to be Delgado.
Someone here, Corolapis went even further, and there's references to Magnus here, which of course is which is a name that's used for the young war chief when they. So this the thing is, we're looking at this in a diegetic way, right?
Yeah.
If you're looking at it in a non-diegetic way, it is different writers had different ideas of what they were doing. So the people who really homed in on Magnus being a separate character, the war chief being a separate character, even though it's kind of assumed. So I assumed the war chief was a separate character for a long time until maybe about last year when we started talking about doing this.
Yeah.
And I went looking into it because I was just like, I think it was because like Big Finish were doing a lot of Time War audios, and I was like, why have they not done a box set where the Doctor meets the war chief? Like they resurrect the war chief for the Time War.
Yeah.
And then I found out that so many people consider the war chief to be the master.
Yes. And you have authors like McIntee here who is polite enough and considerate enough to
leave gaps,
allow it that it could be. He doesn't confirm, but he makes sure that it could be.
Just take note, folks. That is good Doctor Who writing. The best Doctor Who writers give a little bit, but leave enough room that you can wiggle. Like everyone makes jokes about, it's just like, oh, there's a gap there. Big Finish will be in there, but that's
good.
what it's for.
Gives them more opportunity to write. Yeah.
And of course, there was a period there, genuinely in like the 80s. There was a period where people thought that the meddling monk was an early incarnation of the Master.
Yeah.
Which of course now we've kind of assumed that the meddling monk is a different character.
Yeah.
Especially go listen to the Missy and the Monk audios.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things, and I honestly probably I'm going to lean on these when we get to doing divided loyalties, because some people have written essays.
Yes, and we're very grateful. Thank you so much to everyone who did take time. If you've commented late on this poll, because I'm running it for a week, don't worry, we will be returning to the results for other episodes like divided loyalties.
So I will admit, Third Doctor here has said it sort of. I see them sort of, they feel the same way I do about a lot of these things. That they've said that McIntee's a great writer, but they never call the Master Koschei because they think that the way, from what they're saying here, they kind of like think the way that it's used in fandom is a little bit infantilizing, like with the Koschei things like that.
There will always be two sides to fandom, kind of thing.
Third Doctor here says that they did actually speak to David A. McIntee frequently on Tumblr.
Yes. Yes, the Dark Path wiki page had a lot of references that went to his Tumblr.
It's always nice. But I think the one thing that we have seen, and especially that's come up in these reblogs on that post, are that people genuinely loved David A. McIntee's writing.
Yeah. I love his writing. I got to read his other books. I mean, I'm halfway through another one.
I've been wanting to do First Frontier for a while because it's the only Virgin New Adventure that has the Master in it.
Yep.
Or has there is another one, but that's kind of a companion piece.
Okay.
Anyway, it's all about the spreadsheet, guys. But yeah, everyone seems to love him. I heard on Blue Sky just a few days ago. It came very quickly, a friend said that he'd been on end of life care, and then very quickly after that, it came out that he had passed, which is incredibly sad because he was very young. He was only 55, I believe. But I'm glad we got to cover this book.
Yeah.
And his writing, because it is always a pleasure to find a writer who fully understands both the characters, so in this case the Master, but also just Doctor Who in general.
Yeah.
Understands what Doctor Who is about. Another thing I want to get into, again, because I think I personally kind of want to just understand, because I'm not I'm on Blue Sky a lot now, but I'm not a Tumblr person. I don't understand, like, Tumblr works. It has a set of rules that I've never really been able to understand. And where Doctor Who fandom is, there are some things that Tumblr just latches onto. So, like, we wanted to go into Koschei because we were like, okay, why is everyone calling it Koschei? Why is everyone believes?
Because you were quite surprised when you looked on Tumblr and saw that's what everyone called him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'd read that it is mentioned in 2 books. And that's the thing. But the other thing I want to look at now is you guys have a weird fascination with the Rock death. Like, it is something that is mentioned in one Big Finish audio.
Yeah.
That's literally its entire thing. It's in one Big Finish audio.
So we'll do it.
Yeah, like, we'll do it. I mean, we'll absolutely do it. But
I think that right now, this is going to sound really weird, but right now Tumblr's in their Fitz. What's his name? Fritz or Fitz?
Oh, Fitz Kiner, yeah.
Fitz, their era. That's who right now. That's what it's all about.
Everyone's loving reading the Eighth Doctor novels, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, I'm down with that. But yeah.
All right. Final thoughts for this book from me.
Yes.
I think this should have been the 90s movie.
Really?
I think they should have seen the book and gone, screenplay this, and this is a novelization. I think if this was a screenplay, I think this would have been fantastic on the screen.
Right.
Like, it's cinematic, I think. It has emotional moments, it has action. It would have been fantastic as to see this. I would love to see this as a drama, an audio drama, or a movie. I think that's how good it was.
Yeah, cool. If they did redo it as an audio drama, then you do cast someone else who isn't Roger Delgado, right?
Yes.
And that's what I would say. Like, if you were to do this, do it like the restrictions placed upon McIntee were that he had to include Delgado.
Yes.
He had to. But the story works better if it is an unknown.
It's kind of a shame that he has to hypnotize people a lot in the narrative for it to work. Because if he wasn't hypnotizing people and he was just called a Time Lord called Koschei, you probably wouldn't know it was the Master.
Well, that's what I was.
And then you could get to the
earlier.
moment where he says, "One day you will call me Master," and you'd be like, "Oh shit, it's."
Yeah.
It's
totally
him.
unlike John Peel when, like, the Master is immediately revealed straight away.
But without the hypnotism, it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
Especially when his face is on the cover of the book. Yeah.
Exactly. So he had to show that it was Delgado.
Yeah,
right?
because that's the draw card, I suppose. It's Delgado and 2 together. Ooh, that's a combination you've never seen.
Yeah. But yeah, it works better if it is a character you've never seen.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I would absolutely like that. So if they were to do it as audio, I'd be like, no, put John Koschei back in his box. Put him back in his box. He's done enough this week. But yeah, this year there's a lot of different things that we're going to be doing. But we're going to be taking, I think, a bit more of a cerebral look this time. I think we're trying to sort of make connections and.
Yeah, and we're going to do it alongside another Master in sort of long form. We don't normally include the audience in discussions like this, but here we are. We're going to do another Master more long form as well over the course of the year. And side by side, I think both of those are going to be really good together. And then we, of course, will be dipping into things like the new Spy Master audios. And I picked up a comic book the other day.
Oh, yes. That's it. That's all for this episode of Please Attend Carefully. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that with each new installment, you come to understand, appreciate, and maybe even obey the Master or Koschei. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be updated on new episodes. We'd also love to hear from you. Amber, how can listeners get in contact with us?
You can find us on Tumblr, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube with a link to everything in our show notes. But if you want to get in contact with us direct, then please send us an email at pleaseattendcarefully@gmail.com. We really love any and all messages, asks, comments, and tags, so don't be afraid to get in touch.
That's right. Well, I've been Ciarán.
And I've been Amber. Thank you very much for your support. Until next time.
We hope you'll be tuning in. After all, it can't hurt you to listen, can it?